First time it happens, you think it's just bad luck. Margaret had a weak heart. Everyone knew that. The funeral is sad, sure, but life goes on. You still have coffee with the girls on Thursdays, still complain about your knees, still laugh at the same old jokes. But then, 6 months later, another name appears in the obituaries. This time, it's Carol. Cancer. Came out of nowhere. And suddenly, you're at another funeral, another reception with those terrible finger sandwiches, another afternoon spent staring at a casket, wondering when exactly your address book turned into a memorial list. Nobody prepares you for this part of being over 60. They warn you about retirement boredom, about achy joints, about grandkids who don't visit enough. But they don't tell you that one of the hardest things you'll face is watching your circle get smaller and smaller. Not because people moved away or had a falling out, but because they simply stopped existing. One by one, like lights going out in a neighborhood you've known your whole life. And each time it happens, something shifts inside you. Not just grief, though there's plenty of that. It's something deeper, quieter, more unsettling. You start doing math you never wanted to do, standing in the shower, washing your hair, and suddenly you're counting. How many are left? Susan, yes. Barbara, yes. Linda had that stroke, but she recovered. Betty moved to Florida, but she's still kicking. You count them like inventory, like you're taking stock of what's left in a store that's closing down, and the number keeps getting smaller. 10 years ago, you had 12 close friends. Now you have 7. The weird part? You don't just lose the person. You lose everything they carried. All those inside jokes that nobody else gets. Remember when Sarah spilled wine on the priest at Tom's retirement party? You can't tell that story anymore. The memory dies with her. And that's when you realize friendship isn't just about having someone to talk to. It's about having someone who holds your history, who remembers the version of you that existed before gray hair and reading glasses. Your kids don't understand. They try, bless them, but when you mention that Dorothy passed away, they nod sympathetically and say something like, "Oh, that's sad, Mom, I'm sorry." And then they change the subject to their own problems, their work stress, their mortgage payments. They don't get that Dorothy wasn't just some friend. She was the woman who held your hand in the hospital when you had your first baby. She knew things about you that nobody alive knows anymore. And now that knowledge is gone, buried 6 feet under with her favorite pearl necklace. Here's what nobody talks about. After 60, making new friends becomes almost impossible. Not because you're unfriendly or antisocial, but because real friendship takes time. It takes shared experiences, accumulated trust, decades of showing up. You can't speedrun that process. You can join a book club, sure, meet some nice ladies who also like mystery novels, but will they be there when you fall and break your hip? Will they remember your dead sister's name? Will they understand why you can't watch romantic comedies anymore because they remind you of watching them with Janet, who died last spring? The silence is the worst part. Not the loud, obvious silence of an empty house. The subtle kind. The silence of your phone not ringing on Sunday mornings because Helen always called at 9 a.m. sharp and now she doesn't. The silence of having thoughts you want to share, but realizing the person you'd normally tell is no longer there to receive them. You become your own echo chamber, talking to ghosts. And then comes the guilt, the terrible gnawing guilt of being the one who's still here. Why am I alive and Patricia isn't? She was healthier, ate better, never smoked a day in her life. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here with my high blood pressure and occasional whiskey habit, still breathing, still buying groceries, still complaining about the weather. What kind of cosmic joke is that? Survivor's guilt isn't just for soldiers and disaster victims. It's for anyone who outlives the people they love, which, if you're over 60, starts to feel like your full-time job. You catch yourself doing strange things, buying 2 muffins at the bakery out of habit, then remembering you don't need to anymore. Reaching for your phone to text Diane about something funny you saw, then remembering. Always remembering. Death doesn't happen once. It happens every single time you forget they're gone and then have to remember all over again. That small punch to the stomach, 50 times a day, 100 times a week. The wound never fully closes because you keep accidentally reopening it. Some people try to be helpful. You should get out more, join a senior center, take a pottery class. As if replacing 50 years of friendship is as simple as signing up for an activity. As if showing up to a room full of strangers and saying, "Hi, my name is Joyce and all my real friends are dead," is going to spark some magical new connection. The ones made in your 60s and beyond, they're nice, they're pleasant, but they're not the same. They can't be. Then there's the practical side. Who's your emergency contact now? Your kids are states away. Your spouse is just as fragile. And there's nobody left who actually knows you, who can tell the paramedics you've always been this stubborn. You start seeing your own future in other people's present. That woman at the grocery store, the one buying single-serving meals, talking to the cashier like they're old friends because maybe they're the only person she talks to all week. Is that me in 5 years? That man at the library sitting alone at the same table every afternoon, reading the newspaper so slowly because he's got nowhere else to be. Is that where this is heading? The slow fade into isolation, not because you chose it, but because everyone else chose to die first. But here's the thing about grief nobody tells you. It changes shape, but never disappears. At first, it's sharp and consuming. Then it becomes dull and manageable. Then, when you least expect it, it's sharp again. A song on the radio, the smell of a particular perfume, someone laughing exactly the way she used to laugh, and you're right back in it, drowning in the absence of someone who should still be here, but isn't. The only difference is now you're better at hiding it. You've learned to cry in your car instead of in public. Some mornings you wake up and forget for just a second. Then reality lands. Oh, right. She's gone. You rebuild your day around that absence. One friend this week instead of 3. Dinner alone. Birthday celebrated with an 8-minute phone call. Yet somehow, impossibly, you keep going. Not because you're brave or strong or inspirational. Because what else are you supposed to do? Lie down and give up? That's not how you were raised. So, you get up, you make coffee, you feed the dog, you call the one friend you have left and make plans for lunch next week, even though both of you know there's a chance one of you won't make it to next week. That's the dark lottery you live with now. Every goodbye might be the last one. And slowly, you learn a new kind of appreciation. When Susan calls and sounds alive, you feel relief. When Barbara's still sharp over coffee, you mark it as a gift. Every conversation becomes precious because absence taught you what presence is worth. The hardest lesson of all? Learning to be alone without being lonely. It's a skill nobody teaches you, something you have to figure out yourself through trial and error and a lot of very quiet evenings. Some people never learn it. They let the loneliness eat them alive, turn bitter, withdraw completely. Others find small pockets of peace, a good book, a garden, volunteer work, grandchildren if they're lucky. They build a life that doesn't depend on other people's continued existence, which sounds sad but is actually just survival. There's no happy ending here, no magic solution that brings everyone back or makes new friends appear out of thin air. This is just what happens when you live long enough. Your world shrinks, your circle tightens. The cast of characters who made your life full and chaotic and meaningful start exiting stage, left, one by one, until the stage feels too big and too empty, and you're left wondering why you got stuck with this long, final act when everyone else got to take their bow early. But if you're watching this and nodding, if you've counted your remaining friends on one hand, if you've cried in your car after another funeral, you need to know something. You're not weak for feeling this. You're not dramatic. You're not being morbid. You're being human. Grief is the price we pay for love. And if you're grieving, it means you loved deeply. It means you built real connections in a world full of shallow ones. It means you mattered to people and they mattered to you. That's not nothing. So the next time you see your friend, the one who's still here, still breathing, still drinking terrible coffee and complaining about her back, tell her something real. Not just how are you, but something true. Tell her you're grateful. Tell her you notice her. Tell her that in a world that keeps taking people away, she's still here, and that matters. Because one day, probably sooner than either of you wants to admit, one of you won't be here anymore. And when that day comes, you'll wish you'd said more. If this hit close to home, if you felt seen, if you're dealing with this quiet loss that nobody talks about, I know this wasn't easy to watch. But if it felt true, leave something below. Your age, a name you miss, anything. And if you want to keep going deeper into the things we're not supposed to talk about, well, you know where to find me.